In this episode, we're going to look at site security. So we've already installed an SSL certificate, which means that our data is encrypted. Now, that doesn't actually mean that your website is secure. It just means that the information that travels between your server and your visitor's computer is secure, which means that no one can jump in on those signals and steal their personal information. So we're going to look at how to make your website more secure. First, you need to always make sure that you use a reliable host and that host has a secure server for you to host your site on, because if they get hacked, there's nothing you can really do. All our servers obviously come with security systems, and we recommend this plugin to all our clients to help boost their front-end plugins and security there. Now, one of the biggest breaches of security tends to be that plugins don't get regularly updated by the site owners. And what this means is that when a plugin gets updated, 9 times out of 10, the developer is either adding new content or fixing content where there might be errors in the code that could create a backdoor for hackers to get into your site. So it is always worth mentioning that always keep your plugins up to date and your site themes up to date as well. So we're going to look at a free WordPress plugin called WordFence. Now, for full disclosure, this plugin, because it's free, it's not 100% going to make your site secure. So if you are worried about getting your website hacked, we'd always recommend, either upgrading this plugin to a premium or taking out a security plan with a third-party security provider such as Security. They charge about £300 a year for security on your site. Their firewalls are pretty good. But this is a nice free tool that can really help boost your site security. So in the previous episodes, we've already installed WordFence. So let's head over to the dashboard and see how it looks. So as soon as you head over there, you'll see that you'll need to resume installation. So click resume installation. It'll ask you for an email address to send any security information to regarding your site. So put in your email address. Click no if you don't want to receive their mail shots, and then click agree to the box. We haven't got a premium account because we're just going for the free version, so just click no thanks. Next, we want to configure WordFence for our site. So if we head over to the dashboard, at the top here, click here to configure. Now, yours might be slightly different. It will give you different options depending on your site. So there may be one box, there may be 2 boxes. If there's one box, just click and let that download. If there's 2, you'll have to click both before you can continue. And close. So as you can see, without doing anything, we've already got 100% brute force protection, which is pretty good. So what brute force is that it stops bots coming onto your website and then trying to continuously guess your username and continuously guess your passwords. And what this does is it will set a limit of how much it can guess before it just blocks that IP. Now, it'll block that IP for probably about 4 hours, depending on your settings. And then after that, it'll unblock it, and then they can try again. If 9 times out of 10, if a spam bot gets blocked, they tend to move on to a different site. So it's a good way of keeping your site secure. You can, if you notice a specific IP address keeps trying to guess your passwords, you can actually manually block them so that they can't become unblocked and they're continuously blacklisted from your website. So that's a really great feature of WordFence. So next we want to enable automatic updates. Just makes things a bit easier. Okay, so straight out of the box it goes on to learning mode. So basically it'll be learning now in your website, seeing how your visitors interact with it, and it'll tweak its settings accordingly. However, there are some manual settings that we want to add that can just really boost and improve this site's features. So you want to head to all options, and we're going to work through each one of these boxes and just configure things to how we need. So WordFence license, we don't really need to do anything. Nothing here. Nothing here. Just make sure your email address is correct. Nothing here. And we want to just tweak our alert preferences. When the alert preference is set on low, you'll get email notifications a lot. So what happens is if any of your plugins go out of date, it'll send you an email to notify you, which you don't really need unless you're not visiting your website, months on end. But most users, they visit their website at least once a month, and then you can just do a full site plugin update. So I always just select critical so that whenever it emails you, it is something that is really important and you need to deal with it. And this one is a good feature. Alert me when someone with administration access signs in. So I just tick it for alert me when they sign into a new device so that you're not getting alerted every time you sign in to your own your website. And the rest is fine. You can change your activity report if you want it to once a month, if you if you feel that once a week is too much. So here's your basic firewall. As I said before, it's on learning mode. Most of this stuff can really stay. You don't need to change much. So in brute force protection, as I mentioned before, you will it'll lock the IP address out if they put the password in more than 20 times incorrectly. I personally think that's quite high, so I just drop it down to 10, and lock out for 4 hours is long enough. Now, I do select this one with my site so that if anyone tries to guess your password or guess your username and that username doesn't exist, then it automatically locks them out. However, if you do have a lot of users on your website, a lot of the time they forget their username, so they'll try and log in, and because they've got their username wrong, it'll just blacklist them. They'll end up either emailing you or it'll lock them out for 4 hours. So if that is the case for you, unselect that. And in here, you can just change the username of what you want to blacklist instead. So you want to use ones like admin. What else is good? Your site name, for example. So in this case, ours is CBD Pod. And you can update those as you go. So if you notice that you keep getting a specific username that keeps trying to access your back office, you can just come in here and block them. But admin tends to be the most common one. So next we have enforce strong passwords, and we want to enforce it for all members so that no matter who's creating an account, their password is strong, and it just makes your site a bit more secure. This area allows Google to crawl your website without really restricting their access. That's what we want, because if you do restrict Google's access, it can downrank you. It will restrict anybody else, so it's good to have that switched on. And again, if you find some issues, I've had a few clients in the past where sometimes if they're being linked from Instagram to their website, sometimes their website's being a bit funny. So you can just type in Instagram's URL there, click add, and it'll just whitelist it to make sure that whenever anyone comes in from that specific site, that they automatically get access, because it's secure. Don't need to do anything there. Don't need to do anything there. Click high sensitivity. Don't need to do anything here. These are pretty much all okay. And that's all the settings there. So once you've done all the settings, scroll back to the top and click Save Changes. Now, your website won't really look any different. If you head to the front end, it'll all look the same. So this works in the back of your website and only kind of really comes into play as and when you need it. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty quick tutorial. If you ever need to run a scan or anything like that on your site, you just come back to WordFence, head to scan, and you can start a new scan. So if we look at what we've got here already, you can see that all of these blue ticks are fine, and there's a vulnerability scan. So 9 times out of 10 when you get an alert, it'll be about your vulnerability scan, and it'll be because a plugin's not up to date. So what you can do is you can either run a scan just to check, but I can see here that there is a plugin that is out of date. So let's go and update that, which is actually WordFence itself. Update. So that'll just update in the background. And once that's updated, head back over to WordFence. Now you will have to run the scan again, so you'll just run the scan like that. And to save time, I'm just going to jump to the end of the scan, so you're not watching the whole thing. What will happen is it'll just go through each section one by one, as you can see here, and there'll be a blue tick for every field. So as you can see, after we've run the scan, everything is now blue ticked, so we're all good to go. And that's the end of the tutorial. Next up, we'll be looking at Yoast SEO and how to set that up.